The long-awaited rumbling has begun, and Attack on Titan Season 4 Part 2 Episode 6 somewhat showcases how terrifying it truly is. The episode is titled Thaw and picks back up with Eren revealing his plans to the subjects of Ymir. His plan to protect the people of Paradis and destroy all else outside of the island. All who heard this would of course be confused as they had never been to the coordinate point. Not only that, but the idea of mass genocide is not exactly an everyday norm. And the civilian man we would focus upon here would be the father of Annie. But now back to the island, Gabi would call out to Falco while we can see the body of the armored titan with its armor shattered. Reiner would be with her, hobbled over in pain and drained from all that had unfolded. He would explain that Falco had been kidnapped. After shifting into a titan for the first time, one's memories are affected and they are unable to move. The only logical explanation would be that Falco was taken, most likely by John and Connie, as it wouldn't make sense for them to just let one of the 9 titans go freely. After all, we've seen how crucial they can be in battle. Reiner was really struggling here. Without his armor, he had taken a direct hit from some debris on account of the walls crumbling. And I'd imagine that Reiner has never really felt hits the same way that other shifters have thanks to his armor, so it makes sense why he is struggling here now. But the warrior of Marley was not just struggling physically though. Mentally, he was shaken. Eren had won, and with that, Reiner knew he could destroy the world. Gabi's eyes would widen hearing this, as it had really begun to set in that they had lost. And I'm sure this is just really jarring for Gabi, considering she shot Eren's head off, yet in the blink of an eye, his head had reconnected and the chaos of the rumbling had commenced. But Reiner's defeated state made it all too clear, however. The two allies would make their way to a now abandoned home and discuss what was next to come. Reiner would tell Gabi of an evacuation airship to the south, which she could use with Peak or other allies from Marley. Reiner would tell her to warn the world of what's to come, but Gabi made a good point in asking him what difference it would make. There was, after all, nowhere to run. And I find it fascinating that Reiner would segregate himself from such proceedings. Again, Reiner continues to have this defeatist mentality. He at every twist and turn is willing to give up. He does not want to fight anymore, and is just looking for the easy way out. And this was only compounded by the fact that Gabi was right, there was nowhere to run. Yet with tears in her eyes, Gabi would yell out that they can just kill Eren and stop this. And you gotta notice how quickly Gabi jumps to killing. In this scenario, of course, it's their only hope, but it's just a little funny seeing a child always quickly resorting to something like that. She is a soldier, however. Anyways, Reiner wouldn't get too worked up here and would stay with his stance that they had lost. Victory was impossible. And that's because Eren's founding titan could control all titans and subjects of Ymir. All they could do now was run. Gabi was hurt seeing her senior so defeated and angered at the reality they now face. There's a bit of a parallel in the next scene where Gabi adjusts her hairstyle in the mirror and declares that she must not give up. It is similar to Eren in Season 4 Part 1 adjusting his hair in the mirror and declaring that he must fight. There is most definitely a push for parallels between Eren and Gabi, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't sit well with a lot of people. Gabi would leave Reiner to rest and leave with the intention of saving Falco. Gabi is a very bold character, and I'd bet many of you who previously hated her now find yourself indifferent or at least on her side. Let us know in the comments how you feel about Gabi as of right now compared to during her introduction. She has definitely grown as a character, and that is undeniable. Later, we would see the rumbling continue as Titans brought hell to Earth while others watched on helplessly. I can't imagine a scarier sight than this. I mean, ordinary pure Titans alone in Season 1 were nightmare fuel. Anyways, we would get a conversation between Eren's close friends. John would go over the situation with the others, and despite his earlier fears of Eren, he would now recognize that this was simply a case of karma. The people outside the island wished bad on them all and caused suffering, and now the favor was being returned to them. After Eren succeeds, nothing will remain beyond the island, no hatred, and no remnants of that past. Armin would feel differently though, stating that this was too far. It would be an unprecedented level of genocide. He's clearly right, however, we should remember how the island has suffered while the rest of the world progressed and they were caged like animals. Upon hearing Armin declare Eren's plan to be too extreme, John would interrupt Armin to ask if he would stop Eren. Eren had rejected all other plans and chose the one where he would be protecting his friends, the plan where they would benefit from this genocide and sacrifice of humanity. Things would fall silent following those words when suddenly the group would be alerted. It was the Titans from earlier who were transformed by Zeke's roar. They were now fighting the soldiers of Paradis. Armin was now thrown off completely because if Eren has control over the founding Titan, he should be able to control all Titans. There wasn't time though to sit and try and understand this, and so John was ready to assist. However, Mikasa finally spoke up, now asking about John's intentions for Falco. Like Reiner said earlier, John would state that they can't just let him be. He would even state the dark reality that they could save another Titan by feeding it Falco. John would mention pixies, but Connie would interrupt that and mention his own mother as the clear choice. Tension was building here as Armin would point out that they shouldn't kill Falco because of his ties to Marley and Reiner. At this moment, Marley is no longer the enemy, and so it doesn't make sense to spark a conflict again with Reiner. These were definitely some valid concerns from Armin, but Connie did not care, and Connie is just that sort of character at this point. He doesn't care about logic all too much. He is a very emotional character. He's more inclined to go along with his feelings as opposed to anything else. And at times that can be a pretty frustrating character trait, but of course this is his mom, so given the opportunity, I can understand why he feels this way. He's lost so many as is, so when faced with the opportunity to save someone that he cares about, well, it's a no-brainer, if not morally compromising. However, then suddenly a Titan would appear with its sights on them, and this Titan's attack would give Connie the opportunity to leave with Falco, while the others were faced to deal with the surrounding Titans before going after him. So yeah, kinda bum behavior from Connie here, leaving his friends to fend for themselves in this instance, but whatever. Elsewhere, Yelena would be frozen in confusion, unable to comprehend why Zeke was not controlling the Titans attacking. Zeke had created them with his spinal fluid and Titan roar, yet they were not moving as if they were being controlled by him. For Yelena, beyond just the walls, her faith was being crushed before her very eyes. Beyond that, Kaya and her adopted family were being chased by a Titan who we may recognize to be Nile, the man from the police brigade who just wanted to see his family again. And Kaya would be isolated by him. A scene reminiscent to when she had to watch her mother be devoured. But then suddenly with yet another clutch quickscope, it would be Gabi. A very timely shooter in this series for sure. And after firing that first shot, Gabi would rush into barrel stuff no scope headshot the Titan, finishing it off. A vicious scene, but at this point it's all about survival. Despite everything that had happened previously between them, Kaya still called Gabi's sister upon realizing that it was Gabi who saved her. Because by being saved by Gabi, she was reminded of Sasha, who had saved her all those years ago. The collective family would be confused as they had thought Gabi had fled, but she would explain that she came to find Falco, who the family knew as Ben. The survey corps nearby would react to hearing those shots and come to question those at the scene. Very interesting timing that they arrived after the shots and not previously with all the screams, but they would ask about the shots, then immediately questioning the identity of Gabi, believing her to be an invader from Marley. Kaya was hesitant, but upon seeing the soldier ready his rifle, she quickly called out that Gabi was just a member of her family. The entire family then carrying on in a frantic way to convince the soldiers that Gabi was a member of their family. Sasha's father would quietly tell Gabi to come with them for now, as later on she can find Falco and they can run. Thankfully, the act would work and the soldiers would begin guiding them towards safety, making small talk too by asking if they had seen the daydream earlier, referring to Eren's speech at the coordinate. Both Kaya and Gabi would question why they saved one another. Neither of them seemed to know, and both would refer to themselves as the devil. Kaya because she tried to kill Gabi, and Gabi because she has killed so many people for praise. In the end, Niccolo, who tried to kill Gabi as well in the past, would say that everyone has a devil in them and that all they can do is their best to escape it. Elsewhere, many young cadets were cowering in fear as a Titan attacked them, one that looked like Saul from the Breaking Bad series, but they would be saved by Commander Shadis, who would tell them to put on the remaining gear and not cower with the Titans nearby, gear that happened to be a tad bit outdated. Now, if you remember, these cadets were the very ones that betrayed the commander here and beat him to a pulp and imprisoned him. But even still, he is still rocking with them, which takes a whole lot. Like, he could have very well let karma deliver justice upon them, but no, he still saved them regardless. Elsewhere, Yelena was still frozen watching the Titans attack. as 1 inch closer, ready to eat her, Yelena did not even move. Fortunately for her though, Mikasa had appeared and cut it down, sending it crashing down right next to the frozen Yelena. It all just goes to show how confident Yelena was about everything. Just the fact that it wasn't going as expected had her completely paralyzed and lost in confusion. Packs of Titans would be taken out by luring them to a central area and then firing thunder spears at them, but there was still just an endless amount moving throughout the city. The animation for movement gear in Attack on Titan is always a joy to witness, and here we do get some of that as these soldiers flee from the Titans. And I won't lie, of all the episodes, this one actually got me a bit emotional because it was a reminder that the end is near. It has been so long since we've had this sort of conflict where we're dealing with pure Titans and have to avoid them, we're afraid of them and all that stuff. We have really come a long way, and it's only just hit me that the reason these cadets are using this old gear is to emphasize that nostalgia factor for us as the audience. And for me, it definitely lands. As they set up another trap to take out a bunch of Titans, Armin would be the first to notice Pixies as a Titan among the group. They were now face to face with the sad reality that he was transformed with the others who had consumed Zeke's spinal fluid, which made me really sad because that is my guy. But at this point, the group had been through so much that with John leading the charge, John being quite the commander these days at that, they were still able to do what was necessary. And with that, they would get moving to take out the pack. Armin being the one to fire the Thunder Spear at Pixies, thanking him for helping them make it this far and telling him to rest in peace. Definitely pouring one out for the GOAT tonight. Following that, dozens more would be taken out until finally there was some peace. Well, not really peace, the rumbling still remained an issue, but there were no more pure Titans for them to deal with. And so for now, they were safe. Falco would reach the safe point where all the other soldiers were waiting. He'd managed to survive and was now being helped and guided to safety. Yelena too was here, and immediately upon arrival, Falco would put his gun up to her head and tell her to assemble the volunteers and prepare to detain her. Yelena was still just silent here, still broken by the crushing reality of Zeke's failure. We would then get an update on Armin and Gabi as the two had made contact. Armin was shocked to see that she was here, but Gabi would lower the tension by claiming that she no longer wanted to cause any trouble. Quickly, she would ask about Falco, claiming that she just wanted to get him back, and then they will disappear for good. Armin would have to explain that Connie had taken him to feed him to his mother, who had been stuck for 4 years as a Titan unable to move, which most definitely devastated Gabi, but she still refused to give up on Falco. But now desperate and truly out of options, she would ask if Eren can't just transform Connie's mother back with the Founding Titan's power, but Armin said that if he could, it's likely Eren would have done so for the other Titans that had been fighting throughout the day, which would cause Gabi to spiral further upon hearing this. It had to be possible. Not only that, but she'd question why Eren needed to destroy everything, why not only military bases for example? And of course Armin did not have those answers. However, she would mention that Eren was able to remove Reiner's armor, which definitely shocked Armin and would cause him to question her further. And from there it would set in what Eren meant by undoing all the hardening, as we would see a shot of Annie, the female Titan, on the ground struggling to gain her composure. She is back. And at that, I don't think any of us expected this character from season 1, who had hardened herself, encased herself in season 1, would only just be returning to the fray with the very end of the series, the back end of the last season. Now granted, we have seen her in flashbacks and such, but it's just not the same. Now for as stellar as Attack on Titan may be in a multitude of categories, romance isn't exactly a strong suit. However, there is a bit of a something between Armin and Annie for whatever reason. Maybe it's a blonde thing. So despite the precariousness of their situation, he is getting his love interest back, it would seem. And we would really love it if you guys would subscribe to Plot Armor with notifications on. And if you're interested in Western comic content, you should definitely check out our new channel, Plot Armor Comics, where we bring you just that. And when it comes to bringing you some of the best Attack on Titan content on the platform, Plot Armor has you covered. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.